What up, though? I am Fontaine the Titan, and we about to get into something real heavy. I'm talking heavy like a Chevy. We about to get into this mental slavery thing. Now, everybody has the concept of slavery when it comes to physical, right? We all know the whips and the chains and all of that. So what happens when you take off the physical aspect of slavery? Are you really free, right? So getting into the element of freedom, getting into freeing yourself, freeing your mind, we got to understand that there are aspects of mental slavery that goes on, you know, and it works both ways, because if you are still mentally enslaved, then you're still physically enslaved without the chains. So now you just got chains on the brain, you know. So let's break this down. You know, it kind of reminds me of, you know, when I was younger, and one of my older sisters, right? You know, I got one sister a year older than me. I got another sister like 5-6 years, you know, older than, you know, both of us, and we would think we were slaves to her, you know, based on the fact that she would boss us around, tell us what to do, have us running back and forth, doing little errands around the house for her. Go get me some pop, you can go get me some chips. She come in, she take the remote control and watch whatever she want to watch, and we got to stuck doing whatever she had going on. And we looked at it as we had to do it because she was older than us. No other reason in our minds, right? She the oldest, she been telling us what to do. That's how it was going. So we kept doing it. And then one day we was like, you know what, ain't you tired of her treating us this way? I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm tired of it too. So me and my sister, we got together and we was like, look, we had a mutiny. We was like, look, I'm going to tell her no, and you going to tell her no. We ain't about to do none of that. She got to start getting up. She go do stuff for herself. And she ain't taking the remote today. We was just flat out with it. Right? And that day came, man, everything had worked out all right. She just think that we was growing up and wasn't having it no more. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, the reason why we never said nothing before is because we was scared. We was afraid. We afraid she go tell mama. Afraid she go be mean to us and all of that stuff. So we kept doing what, you know, she wanted us to do for a long time, until we figured out that, no, we're not about to have it no more, you know. So we broke out of that. But that was a mental aspect, and it was all based in fear. And what you go understand is that fear is a low vibration. And when people have you in fear, they're able to control you. They're able to do anything. You know, it's like, if I know you afraid of spiders, right? All I have to do is have a spider with me, and I can control everything you do. You know, I can keep you locked in the room just by having a spider in my hand standing on the outside of it. And you in there, you won't leave the room, you won't do nothing. And guess what? I'm the one that got the spider. I got control over everything you do. Now I can say do this or do that, or I'm going to put this spider on you. You do it, right? It ain't nothing but a spider. Look how many people are afraid of spiders and how you can control them off of a spider. And all they got to do is just stop being afraid of the spider. Simple enough, right? But being afraid of the spider is a mental thing. And that's what we go get into. We go get into these concepts of how mentally we are enslaved to this day. And these five major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, five major elements of slavery, right? So let's get into this thing. Let's get into what we call the government and politics, okay? You know, so what a lot of y'all got to understand is a lot of people like the government. A lot of people think that we need government. A lot of people look at government as, how else are we going to operate without this thing? Well, first of all, let's take a look at the government in its totality, right? Because they got people arguing over Democrats and Republicans and not understanding that it's all the same thing. It's all one entity, one energy, really one corporation that's running the whole thing, right? So you're looking at the president like he can do something or whatever. They all have one agenda only. And that's to keep you in line, keep you from not doing anything that they don't want you to do. All right. So let's take a look at the word government within itself, right? Because even the word government tells you exactly who they are. They're not lying to you. Because the word government breaks down, if you look at the etymology of the word in the Latin, It means to control, right? And ment breaks down into mental, which means the mind. So the government literally means to control the mind. They're not lying to you. They're telling you the absolute truth of what they are all about. They are the mind control people. You got people out here who say, yeah, I want to work for the government. They got good benefits. I bet they do. I bet they do. They're the government. They're the mind control people. So yeah, you want to work for them, but understand what you're getting into. You got to understand the FBI, the CIA, and all of the things that this government has done throughout history. You really want to work for them? And they telling you that they're the mind control people? Because you get better health benefits? Why don't they give everybody great health benefits? That's something that you got to start looking at. You know, while we over here fighting for pennies and crumbs, trying to go to the doctor, we don't even get health benefits from this so-called government that you people think that's supposed to take care of us. They have no agenda to take care of us. The government's whole thing is to control and to get money. That's it. So you got to start looking at the history of how this government operates, because this government is allegedly for the people. Well, as a black person, melanated person, or whatever it is, at one person, they didn't consider us human. Y'all go back and look up the 3/5 Amendment, you know, and they can try to justify that any type of way they wanted to. But at the end of the day, it was about slavery and it was about money. So your government is the ones that said slavery was okay. So just because the government says something is right doesn't mean it's right. Okay? Because if we go by what the government says is right, then it's a whole lot of people that shouldn't be in trouble right now. You go back to Prohibition, they let everybody get a bunch of money off of bootleg and alcohol, then they turned around and made it legal after everybody made millions off bootlegging and billions of dollars, then built enterprises. All the government does is find ways to get a one-up on money. You thinking that the government is out here having wars to protect this country? No. The government is going around and they're stealing land, stealing natural resources, all the gold, all the diamonds, all the oil, all the lithium ion that we love to use on our cell phones, right? They stealing all of this stuff. And what do? We go to work to pay for stolen goods. Exactly. And this is your government that controls and runs everything out here stealing so that we can buy the same things that they stole. Make sense? Let's start looking at this a little bit deeper, because when we start talking about the government taking property and taking land and you think you own your house, don't pay taxes for 2 years and see who owns your house, right? You know, so let's look at what they did. Let's take, for example, the Black Panthers, right? They made sure that they disassembled the Black Panthers by any means necessary, no pun intended. And why do they have the KKK running around out here still to this day, right? So you got to look at why would they pick one group over another when all the Black Panthers wanted to do was protect their families, protect the community, and be a force within themselves. And yet you got a whole nother racist group, clearly racist, built off racism, calling themselves Christians, which is crazy within itself, but they let them run around and still marching and stuff to this day. So we're not able to assemble, so you got to understand the level of control that they're having over every aspect of what's going on out here. And this is your government, right? But, okay, right, people, where did this government come from? It all slides right into the next element of mental slavery, right? Which is religion, okay? So you got this hundreds of religions around the world, but I'm going to focus on this Christianity thing for a minute, because that's how I was raised. And, you know, my grandma, when I went down to St. Louis to visit, had me going to church every single Sunday, right? And I'm talking about all day on Sunday. I'm talking about waking up early, going to Bible school, going to the first service, the second service. Then we go to another church. They had service over there. I was literally in church all day, every single Sunday, right? Then when I was for my middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I went to a Catholic school. Look, it's not too many people that besides, you know, these so-called pastors or whatever that know more about this Christianity thing than me. So for me to decide that the religion is a bunch of garbage, y'all got to pay attention, because I done went through a whole lot in this religion thing. And I say, you know what? It's just not for me. Because I started to ask questions. And all of these questions that I started to ask, people couldn't answer. And so I started doing my own research, and I started to figure some things out. And it's based on just common sense, and it's based on logic, because the government came out of religion. At the beginning, it was the separation between church and state. That's what they always want to tell you. But at the same time, they only separated church and state for them to be able to have two other ways to make money. They tell you to diversify, right? That's exactly what they did. They diversified their portfolio. They say, we go keep this religion thing and we go create another government. But before it was a government, the religion was the government. And the religions was the ones that the Christianity, the Crusades, and you don't know what these Crusades was all about? It was about killing people. It was about get down or lay down. Murder gang, Benny Siegel style, right? State property, right? That's what they did. Thousands and thousands of years of this got people automatically conditioned to thinking that you're supposed to be a Christian, or you're supposed to be a Muslim, or you're supposed to be with whatever religion that your parents told you that you were a part of. But you don't know that all of this was instituted in fear in the first place, because they said they were going to take over your concept of who God is. Now, if you have the authority over another person's God, you automatically have control over them, right? When you start looking into this Bible and you start seeing the things that's written in this Bible, and then you'll get, I got Jehovah's Witnesses came knocking at my door. I'm getting up, barely throwing on some clothes. I don't know who it is. Ain't nobody coming to see me like that I don't know. You don't come over here without calling. Who is this at my door? Oh, I already know it's the Jehovah's Witness before I even answer the door. But I'm like, it's the Jehovah's Witness. I open up the door, here they is with their smiles. Are you prepared? I started to slam the door in their face like Craig did on Friday. But I said, you know what? Let me hit them with this knowledge and see what they got to say. So they get to talking, and I'm like, well, you know, who wrote this Bible that you say? You know, because y'all telling me everything that God said in the Bible. And they say, oh, well, these people were talked to by God directly. I say, oh, okay. Well, how we know they're not lying? See, that's what you got to think about, because the people who wrote these Bibles are still human. What's stopping them from lying to you? That's the first thing that you got to start thinking about. Because if I'm trying to control you, I'm probably going to have to lie to you. If I tell you the truth, you be like, oh man, I'm not going with that. So I got to lie to you. I got to tell you that God told me to write these words. And while I'm writing these words, I'm going to make sure I add in slavery. I'm going to add in all of this other stuff to make sure that I got a certain amount of control, that I'm controlling you in a certain way. Right? And people think that all of this is okay. There's slavery in the Bible. Why would there be slavery in the Bible if God is the one who's ordaining this Bible? You telling me that this God is racist? Obviously. So people don't even think about that. And then they try to justify it. Some things are unjustifiable, and you have to go and look at the history of it. Go look at the people who wrote the Bible. Go take a look at King James and who exactly he was, and why there is a King James version, and why they were books taken out of the Bible, because those books didn't go with his agenda, right? Let's take it back a little bit further. The icing on the cake for me was the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. When I found out how they did the Jesus thing. Go look it up, and just, you'll be surprised that you a Christian and you don't know where all of this information came from. And you don't know that the Bible was based off the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. You don't know that the story of Noah's Ark is really the story of the great Gilgamesh, and that they took all these stories, remixed them, revamped them, put their own stuff to keep you enslaved and controlled in it, and not only gave it to you, sold it to you. Now you working and paying money to get a distorted message about who God is, you know? And they got control over God, your God, then they have control over you. Think about when it comes to a little kid, right? Little kid has no idea who Santa Claus is. Don't even care about a Santa Claus until you tell them. And now you tell them that, oh, okay, Santa Claus, if you're going to be naughty or you're going to be nice, he's going to bring you some toys, blah, 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 blah. I'm not even going to get into the whole Santa Claus fallacy thing. I'm doing it, telling you this about mind control, what we even do to our kids. And we have them thinking it's okay, believing that this person is about to come down and do all of these things for them. Hey, look, ain't no fat white man ever gave me nothing that I ain't had to go out here and work for, you know? But think about how when a kid grows up, they grow up and then next thing you know, they figure out Santa Claus is false. They just figure out that it's not real. But you had mind control over them. Because you control what Santa Claus said and did to them. You told them, hey, well, if Santa not going to bring you no toys, kid, straighten right on up. Well, I'm going to be good. If this Santa Claus guy, then you grow up and then it turns right into a religion thing. So you already pre-programming yourself for religion. Soon as you get grown and you get into some trouble and everybody tell you, well, you need to pray to Jesus. You be like, all right, well, that's what I'm going to do. Not knowing that it's other aspects of it that are detrimental to what's going on. And you don't even know the history of why you're doing it. Everybody say it works, so you do it. Then next thing you know, it works. You're like, all right, I'm going to keep doing it. But you have no idea of why it works. And we'll get into why it works in another video. But what I'm telling you right now is the mind control aspect of it. Because as long as you have to do certain things through your religion for your religion, and you got to look at how religion has treated women throughout history. You got to look at how religion has treated all the different races throughout history. And they use this religion to keep you blind on looking within yourself and getting your own true light. But that's also part of the government's agenda. Because as the religion used to be the government. And as I say, they separated, but they're still the same thing, you know? So you got to start thinking about things in a whole different type of light so you can have an understanding of where you stand in it. Because, all right, here's the thing. Even after you get all of this information, right? Even if after you get all of this information and everything and you still decide to go on and do the things that you're still doing, that's fine. At least you got the information. Or if you research it and you be like, all right, I'm going to still go this way because I'm afraid. All right, that's fine. Good for you because I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just in here to lay down what it is, you know. For example, let's move on into the next element of mental slavery, which is science, right? And I'm bringing this in because all of this flows together. Because also at one point, your religion used to control the sciences, and actually they still do, you know. And what they do with science, and this is the great part about what they call science that I love. They haven't proven anything. They have not proven nothing. Nothing. Not one drop of what they have going on and what they telling you about your existence is true. Now, when I'm talking about science, I'm not talking about the repeatable experiments that can be done to prove a scientific point, right? I'm talking about these scientific theories that they come out with. The Big Bang Theory, right? They say, all right, we came from nothingness. At the beginning, there was nothingness. And then everything spread out throughout the whole universe. And then the universe, it developed. And then we got planets. And then gravity came. And everything swirls around. And so it's like, well, how do you prove it? And they say, well, look at this math equation. That's not proving anything. So what are you telling me? Because if you're telling me the Big Bang happened billions or trillions of years ago, and you're telling me like this stuff is a fact, are you telling me that you went back into time? You literally looked through your telescope and looked back into time. Do I look like a fool to think that you can look back into time and tell me what happened? But that's what people are going for. And then you got this Big Bang Theory that ends up coming into the theory of evolution, Darwin's theory of evolution, and now they got you believing that you came from monkeys. They say, well, there was a microscopic organism that came up out of the waters that grew and developed and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, all right, well, yeah, that's cool too. And if you believe in that, guess what you just did? You just eliminated God from your whole equation. See how they mind control you? So see, it's like if you want to believe in God, we already have a religion for you. And if you don't want to believe in God, here's a science for you. So whatever it is you believe in, some second, third-hand information about some people who is created by some people that's just here to control you mentally. So how can science, religion, and the government reconcile itself? Because keep in mind, the government is the ones we pay taxes to. They have these science programs and the space programs. Keep in mind, they're called programs for a reason. Just as like I say, your brain is a biological computer, so it's accepting these programs that they're giving you. And now you're looking at NASA like, oh, look at the sun. Oh, look at Jupiter. Oh, they got a planet made out of diamonds. And like, man, all of those pictures that they showing you on the Science Channel, they fake. They CGI. But you wouldn't know that if you didn't do your investigation. What got me into it is because I wanted to get into astrology and astronomy. And I started looking and researching, and then come to find out, yeah, all that stuff is fake. All of that stuff is built off mathematical equations, and then they draw pictures based on those mathematical equations and render them up, put them out there to the public, and tell y'all this is what it is. If that's what you want to believe, I don't believe that. I need a little bit more proof. I'm going to need a real picture. I'm going to need stuff like that in order for me to get behind y'all so-called science, because I understand why they're doing the science this way. Because if you don't want to believe in God and you don't want to believe in your religion, we're still going to have you through the government and through the science. So every single way that they have you mentally enslaved is interconnected. You know, it's like a pot of macaroni and cheese, you know, a big pan of macaroni and cheese, all gooey and stuck together. That's how all of these things are combined. You can't separate the cheese from the noodle, from the salt and the pepper, you know. Keep in mind, they already boiled the noodles before they even did anything. So we coming in already messed up. And all y'all think about, oh, this macaroni good. You don't even care who made it. I'm starting to care about who making this macaroni and cheese. I care about this mental slavery. I want to find out what's going on so I can get out of it. Maybe I don't even like macaroni and cheese. You see what I'm getting at? But if that's all you forced with, that's all you go take. Then I don't even know how to make macaroni and cheese, but it is good. I do like it. I'm put that out there. But you know, moving on, we can go to the next element of mental slavery, which is, of course, the money, right? That money, that materialism that they got us locked into, oh man, that's the biggest distraction in the world. Because what happens is we're going out here to work, right, to make money to buy stolen goods. You be like, all right, well, what do you mean stolen goods? As I said, the lithium ion, the oil, the gold, the diamonds. The government is out here stealing natural resources around the world, and they selling it back to us using money. And what is money? Money isn't backed by none of this stuff. It's not backed by the gold, diamonds, and oil and other stuff that they out here stealing. Money is a currency. Money is a energy flow. That's why it's called currency. It has no value unless we think it does. The second that everybody decides we don't want to deal with money, their whole system collapses. That's what the whole stock market is all about, on how much people believe in the money. It ain't got nothing to do with anything else about belief in the money. And that's why they tell you to invest in the stock market. And then now they came out with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, which is nothing but another levels of money control. Because if you tired of regular money, now we got crypto coin for you. Now we got Bitcoin for you. We're going to keep ways to keep you mentally locked into the game on this money thing. Because as long as we can keep you guys working and doing stuff for this money, we have control over you. So we don't need shackles on your feet anymore for you to have to go out here and do this physical labor or whatever it is that you got to do. We don't need any of that anymore because we got this money system locked down in place, and you will do anything for it. They say the root of all evil is money, right? Or they just say, now they say the love of money is the root of all evil, right? Kind of reminds me of that movie Vampire in Brooklyn. Any of y'all seen that with Eddie Murphy? Evil is good. Evil is good. Y'all remember that? And he said that evil is necessary, therefore it has to be good. It's a duality. Oh, we'll get into that deeper on another time. But that's my point is that they got money out here to do their bidding for them. And as evil as money is, I might look at money in a different way if people will use the money for different things. You got multi-billionaires out here sitting on their yacht, drinking their champagne, eating they whatever they eat. They steak and shrimp. They probably eating something better than that. I eat steak and shrimp. They probably eating octopus and shark. I don't know what they eating, but whatever it is they eating, they on their yachts and their mansions, living it up, living good, and making more money off the backs of our labor. And we want to do it. We out here trying to get better jobs, which at the end of the day, we don't have a choice, right? But to try to make more money in their system that they created. This is their economic system. This is their money. And they use this money for the churches, which if you don't know, that's why I say everything is all connected like macaroni and cheese. Churches are 501c3 charities. They don't have to pay any taxes. Why don't they have to pay any taxes? Because they're doing the government's bidding. They have you locked in when you go to church. They telling you about Donald Trump and the congressmen and the senators and all of that. They tell you that in church. And they tell you who to vote for when it's a Democratic church. How a church go be Democratic? And they out there endorsing so-called politicians and all of that. It's all connected. Why? Because they get a tax break. So one thing about a 501c3 charity, what you got to understand is, if you're a 501c3 charity, you can't go against the government for taking that tax exempt. Ooh, so that means anything that your churches say is approved by the government. Think about that. Why would your church message have to be approved by the government? Because your church wants to be tax exempt. So now with certain things that's in the Bible, they don't even talk about because it goes against what the government got to say. And if anybody in church, any pastors or anybody go with an agenda that's against the government go lay it down. They go stop it, right? That's the whole point of this thing. Is that everything is interconnected. And when you start figuring about this money flow and that money isn't real, the only thing that makes it real is because we think it is nothing but really pieces of paper, then you start coming to a whole nother level of understanding, right? Because we think that all of this stuff is real. We think that all of this stuff is good. And we like our Jordans, right? You know what I'm saying? We like our Gucci, you know? We like our Ferragamos, you know? You stand in line 4 or 5 hours for some Jordans, right? And I ain't gonna lie to you. I like the 3s, the 4s, the 11s, and the 13s. Those are my favorite Jordans. I ain't gonna lie to you. Those are the ones I rock with. You know, if I was a Jordan buying person, I don't even do it. My daughter likes Jordans. I buy them for her because that's a whole different concept I'll talk about. But the thing is, folks don't barely stand in line for food stamps. That's the only thing you see people standing in line for. Food stamps and Jordans, right? So what you got to understand is you're standing in line to pay $180, $200 for some shoes that is going to get another person rich. Why? So you can be fresh? Does what somebody else think about you matter that much? Or do you really like them shoes that much? Or are you involved in that entity of Michael Jordan that much to where you think that you then worked all your hard-earned money to go get that pair of shoes? What is that really proving? Now, look, like I ain't got nothing against the people who spending the money. I really don't care either way. My point is understanding what they're doing to you. Because the money and the materialism gets you trapped into your ego. And that's what we got to look at in a whole nother sense of what they're really doing when they give us this mental slavery. When they put us into these mind states. What type of ego that they're feeding within us to make us feel that all of this stuff is okay. Is it really okay? I don't know. I'm looking at it in a totality, you know. Let's look at this money thing in a whole different way, right? We out here working to pay bills, right? And to get food. Well, it's a guy by the name of Nikola Tesla, and about 100 or so years ago, he had the technology as a scientist to provide the world free energy. You know what they do? Go look into J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller, right? And you will find out everything that they did back in the day to suppress that technology. So now today we still got to pay a light bill and a gas bill, right? They got us so busy working for this money that we don't even have time to grow our own food in our own backyard, like our grandmas and them used to do. Get our own tomatoes and carrots and all of that. They wasn't running back to no grocery store. They had their own food. We so busy we can't even tend to a garden. We so far away from nature, and that's supposed to be the one thing that we supposed to get for free that's from the earth is the food. So if you telling me that they don't have control, well, they control the food, they control the water, and they control who your God is. And they do it all through this fifth element that I'm about to bring up, the media. That's right. Everything nowadays is through the media. What really tripped me out, right? I get on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, they going in on R.Kelly. Oh, man, that's crazy. I look on the next day. Damn, they going in on R.Kelly. Woo, man. I look back the next day, I'm like, all right, when is y'all going to stop going in on R.Kelly? What else is going on in the world? Are y'all so entrapped into what they're telling you to believe, what they're telling you to think? And not to say what he did was right, wrong, true, false, or whatever. It's just the idea at this point that they've implanted in your mind that this is what's important right now. No, don't think about anything else. Only think about R. Kelly. Why do I want to think about R. Kelly? But they got that implanted and they got it going on and on and on. And then you will see the next thing come in. And then people get stuck on that. And the next thing. And all it is distractions. You know? Just look at how the media works. You cut on the television. And it's called a television for a reason. Because it's telling you what the vision. It's telling the lies to vision. And it's called a television program. They're not lying to you. They're programming you. They're telling you exactly what they're doing. And we get up and we can't wait to get on it. Can't wait to get on the television. We can't wait to cut on Facebook and see what the new hot trending thing is and get on Twitter and see what's trending. Because all that's doing is just distracting you. And they use the media as the biggest distraction to keep you flowing in what they want you to think about. So if you're not thinking for yourself on what you want to think about, then you are definitely being mind controlled. See, all of these concepts are the only elements of mental slavery, but I call them the 5 major ones because I see that everything else goes through this. You know, even when you think about something like education, well, the education system is controlled by the government, right? You know, stuff like that. Everything and how we think has a control system to it. You know, as I say, you know, when you're born, you have no concept of who God is, right? When you're born, you look at your mommy and daddy, and if didn't nobody tell you nothing, you had baby talk and they asked you who God was, you would say your mommy and daddy. You only start changing things up when your mommy and daddy tell you, oh no, we're not the ones. We got to go to this building down here called a church, and this pastor go tell us about who God is. And next thing you know, you go through your whole life like that. You know, you go through your whole life with all of these different people telling you everything else. But all of these things that have been told to us, been stuff that have been laid down for thousands and thousands of years. But just because it was laid down for thousands and thousands of years, does that mean it's right? Or does that mean that the people who wanted to control things laid the murder game down and got things the way that it go, and not everybody flowing with their program that they got lined up? You know, so the thing about it is that we got to be careful with our subconscious mind here. It's our subconscious mind that they're attacking. And a lot of people walk around here as humans. And yeah, all right, yeah, we in human bodies having this human experience. But in the spiritual aspect, you got to understand there's 3 parts of us. It's the body, it's the mind, and it's your spirit. And if they can control your mind, then they're getting right in between that process of you really getting to your spiritual self. And then physically, they still got control over you. Because if I can control your mind, I can definitely control your body. So we got to look at all of these things in the concept of how is this helping me spiritually? You know, so tapping into your subconscious mind, getting your own personal light, your own personal understanding, and not just going the way of how the world says or what they say is supposed to be. Figure it out for yourself. Ask questions. Look some of this stuff up and you will find out that a lot of this stuff out here is repugnant. It's so disgusting. You will be like, why would I ever want to follow this religion? When you find out that religion has killed more people on in this world, in the history of the world, than anything else. More than any disease, more than anything else, it's been about religion. It's been about the get down or lay down game. And who's behind a lot of this stuff? It's your governments, because the governments are with the religions. And what do they want to do? They want the natural resources. And they have you fighting over religion while they going in and taking your oil. You got to look at all of this. As they say as Denzel Washington said on Training Day, this is chess, not checkers. And we out here, we worse than pawns because we still playing checkers, still jumping through hoops, going to work, while they out here laying down the murder game and taking over land and doing everything that they feel is necessary to keep their power. They're going to stay on top until people decide to start looking at things. You got to start looking at stuff and not taking it as this prepackaged, everything is right deal that they're giving to you. Because it's not right. So you got to start reprogramming your own subconscious mind here. You got to understand what they're doing when they give you all of this stuff in the media, when they give you this religion, when they give you the science, when they give you this government, when they give you this, well, they don't give you the money, but when you got to work for the money and everything they got going on in the media, you got to understand what they're doing here. They're playing on your subconscious mind. And that's how they keep the mind control over it. Your subconscious mind runs 90% of everything that you got going on. Back in the day, they'll tell you like, yeah, you only use 10% of your brain. Yeah, so what's the other 90% doing? That's the secret that they didn't tell you. Your other 90% is your subconscious mind. And that's what's running. That's what's running your whole program. That's what's running when you sleeping, when you awaken, and why you do the things that you do. And once they have control of your subconscious mind, that's the element of mental slavery that we got to dig deep into. Right? The subconscious mind is programmed through symbols, repetition, and trauma. So you're wondering why you might be listening to a song. You might hear a song for the first time and you're like, oh my God, I hate this song. This is terrible. This dude can't rap, or this girl can't sing, or whatever. And every time you cut on the radio, that song is on. Eventually you stop changing the station. Next thing you know, you bobbing your head to it. Next thing you know, you in the club like... This is my jam. But when you first heard it, you didn't like it. And they just programmed you through repetition. Just that quick. Before you even thought about you, whether you like or not like the song. And you don't even tell somebody, oh, I ain't like that song when it first came out. But when I was in the club that night, I had the Henny. And oh, man, I show jump. How? Just programmed you that quick. And look how many repetitious things that we go through. Look at all the trauma that we had to go through throughout the generations and generations and generations, right? Look at all the symbols that they use that are subconsciously we want to be involved with, and therefore we go and do what they want us to do based on all of these things. Keep in mind, they know this information, you know? They have all of this old ancient information as well on how all of this works. Trust me. They didn't do this by accident. They have this all the way down. They know what they're doing, and they've been doing what they've been doing for thousands of years, right? But to close out, I just want to say, hey, open your mind up. Do some research. Look into things. Let's break these chains on the brain. Let's get out of this mental slavery aspect and get into our spiritual self and really find out who we are. Because once you do that individually, you ain't got to worry about the community, because everybody go rise up. If you rise up individually and this person rise up individually and that person rise up individually, everybody rising up, right? So let's not worry about what somebody else got going on. Let's start building up for ourselves and get our own mentals together. Because if you don't control your mind, somebody else will. That's right. I am Fontaine the Titan. Like, subscribe, and share, and peace.